The twin suns of the colony burned low in the sky, painting the land with orange and gold light. The colony called Leora was calm at this hour. Most workers walked slowly back to their homes while children chased each other across the field. It looked peaceful, but in one corner of the settlement sat a quiet girl who never joined anyone. Her name was Mira. Mira loved to sit on a small hill that overlooked the colony. She watched the moving shapes and heard the echo of happy voices. Her people were known for glowing skin markings that changed color when feelings became strong. These patterns told others when someone was sad, happy, frightened, or proud. For Mira, her markings almost never glowed. They stayed dark and plain. The elders of her people believed she could not feel emotions like everyone else. Some even whispered that she was broken. Her parents had stopped trying to help years ago. They cared for her, but they did not know how to show her love because no glow answered them. So Mira grew alone, watching others play, dance, and smile while she quietly wondered why she was different. She did not understand the words used behind her back, but she understood the distance in every look. The colony continued to move forward with work and trade. The local council had been waiting for new visitors from a nearby human crew. The humans traveled between colonies to offer help with machines, medical care, and supplies. People of Leora heard much about humans, but very few had ever met them. When it was announced that they would arrive the next morning, excitement spread through the crowd. Children cheered and ran around in circles. Mira listened from her hill. She had never seen a human before. She did not know why, but her chest felt a strange tightness at the thought. She tried to imagine what humans looked like. Her imagination failed, so she looked up at the stars above, wondering silently if they came from one of those distant sparkles. That night, she barely slept. She lay awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling. The markings on her arms remained dull gray. Still, she felt something moving inside her. She could not describe it. It felt warm and strange. When morning came, Mira walked to her hill again. From there, she could see everything. The landing platform stood near the center of the colony. Colonists had gathered around it with excited buzz. Mira stayed far from them. She pulled her hood over her head and watched with wide eyes. The sky shimmered as a ship descended, dust kicking up from below. People shielded their faces while engines hummed loudly. The ship door opened slowly and humans stepped out. Their bodies were tall and smooth without markings. Their eyes scanned curiously and their faces held kind smiles. They wore simple clothes with tools clipped to belts. Among them was a young man named Tom. Tom was a mechanic with messy brown hair and soft eyes. He waved at the crowd as he stepped down the ramp. His smile was warm and relaxed. The colony welcomed them with cheerful greetings. Children pushed forward to get a better look. Tom noticed a girl sitting far from the group. Mira felt his eyes on her and quickly lowered her head. She told herself she should not care, but her heart thumped faster. Tom waved gently at her. Mira hesitated but gave a small nod. The moment was simple, but something tingled across her arms. Her markings flickered faintly for the first time in weeks. She pulled her sleeve down to hide it. The council invited the human crew to begin repairs on broken devices around the colony. Some machines had not worked in months. Tom was assigned to fix a large communication panel near the storage building. Mira often liked to sit near that place because it was quiet and hidden from the main road. Later that afternoon, when the crowd was gone, Tom walked toward the storage area carrying tools. He looked around and spotted Mira sitting on the ground near a pile of crates. He smiled again and calmly walked closer. Mira shifted nervously, not sure if she should stay. She thought she should get up and leave, but her legs did not move. Tom set down his tools. He checked the communication box and opened it. Sparks shot out, making Mira jump. Tom tapped the wires gently. He then turned and spoke kindly. "Did I scare you? I am sorry. The wire here is old. I will fix it soon." His voice was smooth and friendly. Mira swallowed and nodded. She wanted to speak, but her throat felt tight. Tom noticed her silence and did not push her. Instead, he talked about simple things. He spoke about the stars he traveled near. He told small jokes about how machines always broke when he tried to rest. Mira listened. Something inside her chest warmed. As Tom worked, his hand brushed the metal panel. Another spark flew out. Mira reached forward on instinct to stop the panel from falling. The metal slipped and both of their hands landed close. Without thinking, Tom gently steadied her hand. The moment froze. Mira's markings glowed weak blue. It was faint but real. Tom's eyes widened slightly. He did not pull away. Mira stared down at her skin, confused. The glow warmed her arm like a gentle fire. A group of colonists stood on the path nearby. They gasped loudly. One whispered to another in disbelief. A child pointed toward Mira's glowing patterns. The crowd began to murmur. Mira felt her heart race. She pulled her hand back quickly and stood up, face pale. She shook her head and began to walk away. Tom called softly after her. "Wait, please do not be afraid, you did nothing wrong." She did not stop. She hurried around the corner and leaned against a wall. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears. She looked down at her arm. The glow had faded again. Her mind spun with questions. Why did her markings come alive now? When she had spent years feeling nothing, no one's voice or touch had ever done this. Back at the storage area, the murmurs turned into soft gossip. The whispers traveled fast. Some elders heard what happened and frowned. The council worried about strange changes. They believed their customs were being challenged. For them, human influence was dangerous. They feared it could create emotions that were not meant to be awakened. That evening, Mira returned to her small home. Her parents were silent during dinner. They had heard the story already. They looked at her with uncertainty, not anger, but confusion. Her father rubbed his chin. "Strange things are happening," he said quietly. Mira could not answer. She went to her room and sat on her bed. She placed her hand on her arm where the glow had been. Her markings were gray again, but she remembered the warmth. She whispered to herself, "I felt something." That night she dreamed of glowing rooms and laughter she could feel in her bones. She dreamed of a hand reaching toward hers. When she woke, her pillow was damp with tears she did not know she had shed. Her markings flashed for a moment, then faded. The next day, Tom returned to the storage area. He hoped Mira would appear again. He repaired the communication box and checked the wires with focus, but his eyes kept drifting toward the road. He found himself smiling when he thought of the glow he had seen. Mira stayed far away, sitting behind a wall, watching him secretly. She wanted to approach, but fear held her back. She was afraid of more whispers. She was afraid of what her people might do if they saw her markings glow again. Most of all, she was afraid of what she felt inside when she looked at Tom. As the suns began to set again, shadows stretched across the colony. Tom finished his repairs and wiped his forehead. Before leaving, he turned toward the hidden space where he knew Mira watched. He raised his hand slowly and waved again. This time Mira lifted her hand back. When she did, her markings glowed again, soft and gentle like a small candle in the night. She turned away quickly, but she smiled for the first time in years. It was a small smile, but real. Her people believed she would never know emotion. They believed she would never glow. They believed she was empty. But one simple human hand had awakened something everyone thought impossible, and this was only the beginning. The morning on Leora began with cool winds. The colony moved quietly. People walked with tired eyes and workers stretched before starting their tasks. However, gossip had not ended. Everywhere Mira walked, she could feel eyes following her. Some whispered softly to each other. Others simply stared at her with curious caution. Her markings had glowed in public. That had not happened in many years. It was news that spread faster than any signal. Mira kept her head down and held her arms close. She moved quickly through the settlement, hoping to escape notice. When she passed the marketplace, a group of children paused and stared at her. One boy pointed at Mira's arms. "Is it true your markings glowed?" he asked without fear. The girl beside him poked his shoulder. "Do not ask her something like that," she warned. Mira did not answer. She walked faster until she reached the outer border of the colony. There she found her quiet place under a small tree. She sat down on the soft ground and hugged her knees to her chest. Her markings were dull gray. She closed her eyes and tried to calm her breathing. The memory of Tom holding her hand returned. She saw his eyes, caring and surprised. She felt that warm spark run up her arm again. She touched her skin gently and whispered to herself, "What is happening to me?" Meanwhile, near the storage area, Tom was back to work. He had woken early and started repairing a generator that supplied power to half of the colony, wires twisted inside the machine like vines. Tom carefully connected them and tested energy flow. He whistled softly to himself. But even as he worked, his thoughts drifted toward Mira. He wondered if she would return today. He hoped she was not scared. He remembered the faint glow on her skin. It had been beautiful in a way he could not easily explain. Two colony elders walked past the area. They glared at Tom with suspicion. One cleared his throat loudly. "You should be careful around some of our people," he said. Tom paused and looked up. "I only helped her." She looked frightened. "We protect our culture," the older elder replied. "We do not change easily." Tom nodded but did not agree. Humans knew well how fear could hold someone trapped. He returned to his work quietly. Later that day, Mira's curiosity pulled her toward the storage area again. She stayed behind a thick barrel peeking around the corner. She watched Tom adjust wires and tap his tool gently against metal. She admired his focus. Tom noticed her shadow first. He smiled and turned his head. "You can come closer if you want," he said kindly. Mira hesitated. Her hands trembled. She looked both ways, making sure no one watched. Slowly, she stepped into view. Tom saw worry in her eyes. He stood up and spoke softly. "You are not in trouble. You did nothing wrong," Mira breathed slowly. Her voice came out quiet. "People do not understand me." Tom nodded. "Then maybe you can talk to someone who will." Mira blinked with surprise. Few ever asked how she felt. Most asked what was wrong with her. "I never felt anything strong," she said. "My markings never glow." Tom sat on a crate and listened carefully. He did not interrupt her. "Children would play," she continued, "but when I joined them they were confused. They said my markings did not change, so maybe I could not feel like them." She looked down at her hands. Her voice was small. "I thought they were right." Tom rested his elbow on his knee. "Well, yesterday your markings did something, so maybe everyone was wrong." Mira looked up, shocked by such simple support. A soft glow flickered on her wrist. She hid it again, afraid someone might see. At that moment, sparks jumped from the machine. The panel shook. Mira flinched. Tom caught her hand gently to keep her steady. Her markings lit again, brighter than before. The blue glow danced across her skin like ripples on water. Tom watched with wonder. "There it is," he said softly. "That looks beautiful." Mira stared at her arms. She felt warmth spreading through her chest. It was not just glow. It was comfort. She squeezed Tom's hand slightly. Then footsteps echoed from behind. A group of young colonists saw them holding hands. Their eyes widened. One muttered loudly, "She glows when the human touches her." They hurried away to report what they saw. Mira panicked and pulled away quickly. "I should not be here," she whispered. "Mira," Tom said gently, "you are not doing anything wrong." But she was already running. She turned the corner, heart pounding, and pressed her back against the wall. She felt tears forming in her eyes, something she never experienced often. Her markings flashed softly, then faded. Later that evening, the council called a meeting. The colony gathered in the main hall. Mira's parents sat quietly, looking nervous. Elders sat at the front with stern faces. One spoke loudly. "It has come to our notice that Mira is changing. These changes are caused by human hands. We must control this situation before it spreads." Some nodded in agreement. Others looked unsure. They had seen her glow, and many felt curiosity rather than fear. Tom stood near a side column. He crossed his arms, trying to remain calm. He did not like how they talked about Mira. Another elder spoke. "Markings show our emotions. Mira did not show them since childhood. Now she glows because of someone from another world. This is dangerous to our traditions." Tom stepped forward, raising his hand. "With respect, she glows because she is feeling something new. That is not danger. That is growth." The hall grew silent. Elders looked at Tom with narrowed eyes. "You do not understand our culture," one replied. Tom did not back down. "I understand loneliness. I understand what it means to feel different. And I understand that touching someone's hand to calm them does not break anything." Whispers spread among the crowd. Some nodded. Others looked angry. The council leader slammed his staff down. "Enough. We will ask Mira to undergo a test tomorrow. It will show if she truly glows by her own emotion, or only by human influence. If she fails, she will be kept away from outside contact until we find answers." The room murmured again. Mira's heart sank. Her breath went shallow. She felt as if everyone stared at her alone. She looked around for an exit. Tom's eyes met hers. He shook his head gently, wishing to comfort her. But she could not stay. She ran out of the hall, passing through the door and into the cool night air. Her footsteps echoed on stone. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her markings blinked weakly. She reached the old tree at the colony's edge and collapsed to her knees. Tom hurried after her. He found her shaking and crying quietly. He sat next to her without speaking. He did not ask her to explain. He did not tell her to calm down. Instead, he offered his hand slowly, palm open. Mira stared at it. She wiped her tears and took a small breath. Her hand reached forward. Their palms touched. Her markings exploded with blue light brighter than ever before. It lit the grass, the trunk of the tree, and Tom's surprised face. The glow traveled across her arms and even reached her neck. Mira gasped. It felt like warmth wrapped around her heart, lifting her pain and fear. Tom smiled softly. "You are not broken," he whispered. Mira closed her eyes. For the first time, she felt safe. She leaned her head gently against his shoulder. They sat under the stars without saying a word, letting silence speak for them. The wind brushed through leaves, carrying away her tears. At the same time, in the main hall, elders heard reports of the glow. They looked out the window and saw the bright blue light shining like a beacon. Some feared it. Some hoped it meant something new. The decision would come soon. The colony was changing whether they wanted it or not, and Mira's light had just begun to spread. The next morning, Leora's twin suns rose slowly, painting the colony in soft gold. Mira woke with a heaviness in her chest. The memory of last night's glow haunted her. She remembered the warmth of Tom's hand, the feeling of safety, and the first smile she had shown in years. But that happiness came with fear. The elders had planned a test today, a test meant to decide if she could be trusted to remain free or if she must be isolated. Her parents did not speak much during breakfast. They looked at her with quiet concern, unsure what to say. Mira could sense their worry, but she felt alone. She wanted to talk to Tom, to feel his calming presence, but she feared others would notice. She slipped quietly from the house, pulling her hood low over her face. As she walked toward the testing hall, whispers followed her. Some children hid behind crates, peeking at her with wide eyes. Workers glanced her way but said nothing. Mira's steps were light and hurried, but she could feel the weight of every gaze. Her markings were dull gray, but her heart thumped rapidly, carrying a warmth she could not explain. Tom arrived at the hall just before the test began. He had been asked to watch from a distance, but he could not. He stood near the doorway, careful not to draw attention, yet ready to help if needed. He noticed Mira's small frame trembling as she waited for the elders. The testing hall was filled with ancient instruments, strange crystals, and machines meant to measure emotions. Elders sat at the front, their eyes sharp and serious. The council leader spoke first. "Mira," he said, his voice firm, "today you will demonstrate whether your markings can show true emotion. If they glow by your own feelings, you may remain in our society without restriction. If not, you will be isolated for your safety." Mira nodded, her throat tight. She tried to focus, but her mind felt empty and heavy. She glanced at Tom, who gave a small, encouraging nod. The glow that had appeared last night seemed distant now, like it had been a dream. The first part of the test involved recalling memories. Mira had to think of times when she had felt happy, sad, or scared. She closed her eyes and tried to remember, but nothing came. The elders' eyes were sharp. They leaned forward, observing her every movement. "Think harder," one elder commanded. "If there is any feeling, it must show." Mira's chest tightened. Tears threatened to spill, but she forced herself to focus. She thought of the first time she saw Tom, the day he waved from the ship. She thought of the gentle hand that had steadied hers. Slowly, a faint flicker of blue appeared on her arm. It was weak, almost invisible, but it was there. Tom noticed it immediately. He smiled softly, whispering to himself, "There it is. I knew you could do it." The next part of the test involved physical touch. Mira was asked to hold a small crystal that usually responded to strong emotions. She felt the crystal cold and heavy in her hands. For a moment she hesitated, then remembered Tom's hand. She imagined him beside her, offering warmth and calm. Slowly her fingers tightened around the crystal, and it glowed faintly. The council murmured among themselves. Some were surprised. Others frowned. The test continued with more exercises designed to provoke emotion. Mira had to tell a story, remember her first fear, and respond to music from a crystal harp. Each time the glow returned, growing a little stronger with each memory. By the final exercise, Mira's markings shone brightly across her arms, neck, and face. The light reflected in her eyes. The elders leaned back, astonished. The glow was not weak or temporary. It was alive, strong, and real. Some whispered in fear. She cannot be influenced by humans alone, one elder said. Her power is natural, others frowned. If she glows like this, what does it mean for tradition? For our laws? Mira felt a strange mix of pride and relief. She had never realized she could feel so strongly. She had never thought her heart could respond like this. She glanced at Tom, who offered a quiet thumbs up. His presence, even from a distance, had helped her stay calm. After the test, the council met in private to discuss their findings. Mira waited outside, sitting under the same tree she often visited. Her hands rested on her knees. The wind carried the faint sound of laughter from children playing far away. She thought of the last time she had felt happy alone. It had been years ago. Now, with the glow inside her, she understood that emotion could exist even for someone like her. Tom walked over and sat beside her. He did not speak at first. He simply offered his hand. Mira looked at it for a long moment, then reached out. As their hands met, the glow flared once again, warm and steady. Mira smiled for the first time in years, not just with her lips, but with her heart. See, Tom whispered, you can feel, you can show it. And no one can take that from you. Mira's eyes glistened with tears, but they were not tears of sadness. They were a sign of hope, of life, of discovery. She had feared the test, the elders, and the traditions that might control her. But in that moment, she realized that she had strength inside herself she never knew existed. The next few days were challenging. The council debated what to do about Mira. Some wanted to restrict her contact with humans, fearing her new emotions could disrupt the colony. Others argued that emotion was natural and should be embraced. Meanwhile, Mira and Tom continued to meet in secret. Each day, Mira's confidence grew. She practiced expressing her feelings, learning how to let the glow appear without fear. Tom taught her small things about humans, about kindness, and about the importance of trust. One afternoon, Mira noticed another girl watching from the edge of the field. The girl's name was Lyra. She had never spoken to Mira before, but now she approached slowly. Your markings, Lyra whispered. They glow. Are you different now? Mira nodded, unsure of how to explain. I feel things now, things I never felt before. Lyra looked amazed. It's beautiful. I never thought it could happen. Mira smiled. For the first time, she realized that her feelings could inspire others. She was not just learning for herself, but for everyone who had ever been afraid or alone. The council finally decided to observe Mira closely, but not to restrict her. Her abilities were recognized as natural, not dangerous. Mira's life began to change. People approached her with curiosity rather than fear. Some even sought her advice, hoping to learn how to awaken their own emotions. Through it all, Mira and Tom grew closer. They shared quiet moments under trees, by rivers, and at the edge of the colony. Every time they held hands, Mira's glow strengthened. She discovered the joy of friendship, the power of touch, and the warmth of trust. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned gold, Mira looked at Tom and whispered, I never thought I could feel like this. Tom smiled. You always could. You just needed a hand to help you see it. Mira reached out, holding his hand tightly. Her markings flared brighter than ever, painting the grass and stone with soft blue light. The colony watched from a distance, unsure how to respond. Some whispered in awe. Others shook their heads in disbelief. But Mira did not care. She had discovered a truth no tradition could take from her. For the first time, she realized that emotion, connection, and love were not forbidden. They were natural. They were hers. And with Tom by her side, Mira finally felt that she belonged. The sun rose over the colony with a soft glow, casting long shadows across the stone pathways. Mira woke early, her arm tingling lightly from the previous day's excitement. The memory of the blue glow that had spread across her markings was vivid. She remembered the warmth that had filled her chest whenever she held Tom's hand. But with joy came anxiety. Today, the council had announced, would be a day of reckoning. The elders had summoned the people of the colony to witness a public demonstration of Mira's abilities. They wanted to prove that humans influenced her emotions and markings in ways that could threaten the traditions of Leora. Some colonists whispered nervously about the day ahead. Others felt curious and eager to see what would happen. Mira's parents looked worried, placing gentle hands on her shoulders. You do not need to fear, her father said softly. Be yourself. Show them what you truly feel. Mira nodded but could not hide the tight knot in her stomach. She had never been asked to display her feelings publicly. The thought of so many eyes watching her made her palms sweat. She dressed carefully, covering some of her arms but leaving enough visible so that her markings could be seen if they glowed. Tom arrived quietly, as he always did. His presence brought a small measure of calm. He held out his hand. Mira looked at him, her chest tightening with anticipation and a strange new confidence. She placed her hand in his. Immediately, a faint glow flickered along her wrist and spread up her arm. The crowd gathered in the main plaza, standing in a wide circle. Elders sat on raised platforms watching carefully. Other colonists whispered to each other, wondering if the stories of Mira's glow were true. A group of young children tried to peek through the crowd to get a better look, their eyes wide with curiosity. The council leader stood and spoke, his voice echoing across the plaza. "Mira," he said, "we will allow you to demonstrate your markings. This will show whether your emotions are natural or the result of human influence. Step forward and hold the human's hand and let us see the truth." Mira's heart raced. She looked at Tom, who nodded gently. "I am with you," he said. "Take my hand and do not fear." She stepped forward, feeling all eyes on her. She reached out slowly. When her hand touched his, the glow surged stronger than it ever had before. It was bright blue light that reflected in her eyes and spread across her arms and shoulders. The crowd gasped. Some murmured in astonishment. Others whispered anxiously, unsure of what they were witnessing. The elders exchanged worried glances. One of them leaned forward, frowning. "This is not natural," he said. "Humans cannot create such effects. It must be controlled." Mira felt a surge of courage rise within her. She had been shy and quiet all her life. She had been told she could never feel like the others. But now she realized that her emotions were hers alone. She did not belong only to herself. They belonged to the people who cared for her, to the humans who showed her warmth, and to the colony that could learn something new. She stepped closer to the center of the plaza, lifting her head to look at the elders. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I'm not broken," she said. "I feel, I care, and I can show it. Nothing you say or do can take that from me." The crowd fell silent. Even the children stopped moving, eyes fixed on her glowing markings. Her parents watched with pride, tears in their eyes. Tom squeezed her hand gently. The glow along her arms and shoulders pulsed like a heartbeat. The council leader spoke again, trying to maintain authority. "You must understand, Mira, that your actions may disrupt tradition. Our people have long believed in controlled emotion. Your ability to feel and show so freely is a challenge to our ways." Mira held her ground. "Emotion is not dangerous, it is life. If we hide our feelings, we deny ourselves and each other. I will not hide who I am." Her words carried across the plaza. Some of the colonists nodded, understanding her courage. Others whispered nervously, unsure what to do. The elders looked at each other, debating silently. Then something unexpected happened. Lyra, the young girl who had watched Mira before, stepped forward. Her markings began to glow faintly. She reached out a hand toward Mira. I want to feel too," she said. "I want to learn." The crowd gasped again. The elders looked at each other in alarm. This had never happened before. Mira smiled, feeling a surge of warmth. She took Lyra's hand and held it gently. Lyra's markings glowed brighter and the blue light spread like ripples in water. Tom squeezed Mira's hand again. "See," he whispered. "You are not alone." The elders tried to speak, but their words faltered. The crowd began to murmur in excitement. People had never seen such a display of emotion. It was beautiful and powerful. Children reached out their hands, wanting to touch and share the glow. Adults looked on, some with fear, some with hope. One elder finally spoke, his voice shaking. Perhaps we have been too cautious. Perhaps emotion is not something to fear, but to guide and understand." Mira felt her heart leap. She realized that change could happen. The colony could learn from her. They could see that emotions were a strength, not a weakness. She looked around and saw that even the council members were beginning to soften. The day continued with Mira and others practicing small gestures of touch and encouragement. Each time someone held her hand or a friend's, the glow spread further, lighting up the plaza in soft blue light. The humans watched quietly, proud of the difference they had made. As the suns began to set, casting long shadows across the colony, Mira and Tom walked to the edge of the plaza. Mira looked at the glowing faces of the people around her and whispered, "I never thought it could be like this. I never thought I could help others feel." Tom smiled. "You have always had the power. You just needed someone to show you the way, and now you are showing everyone else." Mira looked at him, her markings bright and steady. She realized that fear had once controlled her, but courage and trust had replaced it. She had faced tradition, faced judgment, and emerged stronger. The elders gathered quietly at the side of the plaza. They spoke among themselves, acknowledging the change. One elder approached Mira slowly. "We were wrong," he said softly. "Your emotions are not a threat. They are a gift. Perhaps we have much to learn from you." Mira nodded, feeling a strange mixture of relief and pride. She knew that the road ahead would still have challenges. Not everyone would understand at once. But she also knew that with Tom and her friends beside her, she could face anything. As night fell over the colony, the glow of Mira's markings lit up the surrounding area. The blue light reflected in the eyes of the children, the elders, and the adults who had once feared her. It was a symbol of hope, courage, and connection. Mira turned to Tom and whispered, "I never imagined my life could change so quickly." He squeezed her hand gently. "Life always has surprises. Sometimes it just takes a little trust and a simple hand to help us see them." Mira smiled, her heart full. She had faced the breaking point and come through stronger. She had shown the colony that emotion was not something to hide or fear. It was something to share, something to celebrate, and most importantly, she had discovered that she could feel love, care, and friendship in ways she had never imagined. As they walked back toward the colony together, the glow along Mira's arms and shoulders pulsed gently, a reminder of the courage she had shown and the connection she had embraced. The colony was beginning to change, and Mira knew that with every step she took, she was helping to build a brighter, more understanding future. For the first time, she felt truly seen. She felt accepted, and she knew that no matter what came next, she would face it with an open heart and the hand of a friend guiding her forward. The colony of Leora woke to a sky streaked with gold and pink, the twin suns rising over the horizon. Mira stood at the edge of the plaza, her markings glowing softly with the steady blue light. She had spent the previous days teaching others how to recognize and share their emotions, showing them that feelings were not weaknesses but strengths. Children laughed as their own markings began to shine when they held hands, and adults watched with curiosity and cautious hope. Tom approached quietly, carrying a small satchel with tools he had been using to repair machines in the colony. His eyes lit up when he saw Mira, and she felt her heart swell with warmth. "Good morning," he said softly, extending his hand. Mira smiled and took it. The glow spread across her arms stronger than ever. "Good morning," she whispered. "It feels right today." Indeed it did. The colony had begun to change. The council, once hesitant, now observed with quiet approval. Elders no longer scowled at Mira's glowing markings. Instead, they asked her questions, eager to understand how this gift could benefit everyone. Tradition had not disappeared, but it had grown. The people of Leora were learning to embrace emotion, trust, and connection. Mira's parents walked up behind her, faces proud and relieved. "You have done more than anyone could have imagined," her father said gently. "You have shown us that emotion is not something to fear." Her mother nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "We always knew you had something special, Mira. Now everyone can see it." Mira looked at Tom again, feeling the warmth of his hand. "I could not have done this alone," she said. "You helped me see myself." Tom shook his head, smiling softly. "You had it in you all along. I only showed you the way." The plaza was filling with colonists now eager to participate. Youngsters lined up to hold hands with Mira, and their markings lit with laughter, curiosity, and wonder. Adults hesitated, then slowly reached out to one another. Each touch carried the spark of connection, and the blue glow spread like sunlight over the plaza. Mira stepped forward, feeling her confidence grow. She realized that she had become more than just someone who could feel. She had become a teacher, a guide, and a symbol of hope. Her markings pulsed brightly as she held out her hands to the crowd, inviting them to join her. The council leader approached, his expression calm but thoughtful. He had watched closely for days, assessing the change in the colony. "Mira," he said, "you have shown us a truth we could not have understood otherwise. Your emotions are not dangerous. They are powerful, and they inspire everyone around you." Mira bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, sir. I only wanted to help others see what I have learned. Emotions are a gift, not a curse." A soft cheer rose from the crowd, and Mira felt tears of joy welling in her eyes. The people who had once feared her differences now embraced them. They had learned that connection, trust, and compassion could bring strength to the colony, not weakness. Tom squeezed her hand gently. "They understand now," he said. "You did this," Mira shook her head, smiling. "We did this, together." Later, as the suns began to set, the colony gathered in the plaza for a quiet celebration. Families, friends, and even the elders joined in small games and conversations. The blue glow of Mira's markings lit the evening, casting a gentle light over smiling faces. Children ran to hold Mira's hands, giggling as their markings shone in bright colors. Adults cautiously joined, laughing softly as their own feelings began to emerge. Mira moved among them, offering guidance and encouragement, her heart full. She saw the joy she had once only imagined and realized that her own journey had changed the lives of everyone around her. At the edge of the plaza, Tom stood with his hands behind his back, watching Mira interact with the colony. She caught his gaze and walked toward him, holding out her hand. He took it, and together they stood, feeling the warmth and glow of her markings. Mira looked up at him and smiled, truly smiling without fear or doubt. "Thank you for helping me find this," she said. Tom shook his head softly. "You did it yourself. I only walked beside you." They stood together, watching the light spread across the colony. Mira's markings glowed steadily, not just as a reflection of her own feelings, but as a bridge to others, showing that emotions could be shared, celebrated, and cherished. The elders approached one by one, offering quiet words of acknowledgement and even thanks. Mira realized that the colony had not only accepted her, but had grown because of her courage. Traditions were still valued, but they were no longer chains that bound the people. They were foundations upon which trust, love, and connection could flourish. As night fell, Mira and Tom walked along the edge of the colony, hand in hand. The glow of her markings lit their path, reflecting in the eyes of anyone who glanced their way. Mira felt a deep sense of peace. She had discovered a truth she had never known. Love, care, and connection could awaken even the most hidden heart. She looked at Tom and whispered, "I never imagined life could feel so full." Tom smiled, holding her hand tighter. "It is full because we allow it to be. Emotions are not weaknesses. They are strength." And now everyone can see it. Mira's smile grew wider, her glow brighter, a living light in the darkening evening. She felt the joy of being understood, of being accepted, and of being connected to someone who truly cared. The colony of Leora had changed, but more importantly, Mira had changed. She had faced fear, tradition, and doubt, and had emerged stronger, braver, and full of life. She had discovered that even the smallest hand could awaken the largest heart. And as she held Tom's hand, she finally understood the truth she had long sought, that love, kindness, and trust were powerful, and that a single act of care could change everything. Under the twin sun's last light, Mira's glow shone bright, a symbol of hope, courage, and connection. The colony celebrated quietly around her, embracing a new way of life, one where feelings were honored, shared, and cherished. Mira walked forward hand in hand with Tom, ready to face the future with an open heart. The past had taught her patience and resilience, but the present showed her the beauty of connection. And for the first time in her life, she knew that she would never walk alone. The human had held her hand, but together, they had held the hearts of the entire colony. And that was just the beginning of a new world.